burning, they are growing and threatening more homes. A short time ago, the entire city of Calistoga ordered to evacuate. 5,300 people are now on the move tonight. And look at these new images this evening of the desperate escape from the flames in Santa Rosa. Homes, cars, everything burning along the way out. The destruction so complete, whole neighborhoods turned to ashes. More than 3,500 homes and businesses now gone. Tonight, the death toll is climbing and hundreds of people are still missing. ABC's Matt Gutman leads us off from Santa Rosa tonight.
Tonight, firefighters on the front lines are pushed to the limit, nearly helpless against their enemy, the wind.
These fires are just literally burning faster than firefighters can run.
Racing to save others while their own homes burn.
Myself, several of my friends, I understand that we have at least 7 of us from Santa Rosa Fire Department, several from Santa Rosa Police Department, Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. They did lose our homes.
Since exploding Sunday night, the fires still out of control, torching 170,000 acres. This new video from the Sonoma Sheriff's Office showing officers' terrifying escape from the flames. And overnight, new evacuation orders in Sonoma and Napa counties, and anxious moments for this mother.
My son, I'm not sure if my son is still there.
Soon learning he'd gotten out too. 80 people with respiratory issues rushed from this veteran's home. By dawn, officials going door to door, telling 2,000 residents of Calistoga in the heart of wine country to leave immediately.
They just came and knocked on the door and let us know it's time to go.
More than 3,500 structures damaged or destroyed.
What you see here is being called an urban assault. That fire melting these mobile homes down to the steel chassis. Now, what so shocked firefighters is that firestorm leapt over this major highway, engulfing other parts of Santa Rosa, and it's those kinds of conditions that are expected again tonight.
Those winds forecast to gust up to 40 miles an hour. At least 21 dead, a number certain to rise. At that mobile home park, this officer is cordoning off this area because they just found a body in the rubble. It was Bob Tunis's 69-year-old mother, Linda.
Probably just didn't hear people knocking on her door at 3 a.m. I don't know.
Tonight, well over 300 still reported missing, and complicating things, the ability to communicate. Those flames claiming at least 73 cell phone towers. Only the hardiest of things have survived that inferno, including the tab of steel in Brady Harville's hand.
Your personal dog tags?
Yeah, the ones I deployed with. They're like all burned up now.
Wow.
After I deployed, I gave them to my dad, and he had them hanging in his man cave.
It took him 2 hours of digging to find his most precious possession.
You got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, I do. It's crazy. It's mind-blowing.
Well, we're so glad he found those tags, and Matt with us live again tonight. And Matt, there are now reports that downed power lines and exploding transformers are being investigated as one possible cause here for at least some of these fires.
That's right, David. PG&E, that's the utility company here, and you can see them behind me reinstalling downed power lines. Now, the company says in a statement that there were equipment issues at the time the fire here started, caused by, quote, hurricane-strength winds. But that's just one possible cause for the 22 fires burning in California right now. David.
Matt Gutman leading us off again tonight. Matt, thank you. Meantime, the army of firefighters battling these flames in California are working around the clock, even while some of their own homes have burned down. ABC's Lindsay Janis is on the front lines.
Tonight, firefighters on the Nuns fire desperately trying to save homes in already devastated Santa Rosa.
These guys fighting this fire have just called for air support with helicopters about to drop water on this fire.
Now nearly 8,000 acres and just 2% contained.
We're trying to make a path for it so it comes up to that path and then stops.
Today, better visibility means they can attack the fires from the air. It's a scene playing out all over this county. We met one crew defending a neighborhood for 48 hours solid. The flames coming dangerously close to this home.
This fire is so big and the resources are spread so thin that we're just dealing with what we got.
8,000 firefighters, 550 engines, and 124 aircraft, all racing to put out these fires before the winds pick up.
David, they're dropping as much water as they can on this fire that's moving quickly down the mountainside because they're concerned about winds that are expected to pick up throughout the night. David?
All right, Lindsay Janice with us as well. Lindsay, thank you. And of course, we're thinking about the firefighters on those front lines losing their own home and property, so many of them. Let's get right to Rob, because they were telling us yesterday if these winds pick up, it's going to be a problem, and that's what they did today.
Yeah, they're already doing that, and they'll increase tonight, and they're blowing some of the smoke all the way down into San Francisco. We've got 2.5-hour delays at the airport there. Poor air quality. Here's the front that came through that's invigorating those north winds. So we've got red flag warnings up for Napa Valley, Sacramento Valley, even parts of Santa Barbara. And really 20-mile-an-hour winds, those are tough. Anything over 30, you might as well pour gasoline on these fires. This is really tough firefighting conditions tomorrow and Friday. It spreads down across Southern California and right through the weekend, David. This is the time of the year for it, unfortunately.
All right, Rob, we'll be watching this very closely. Thank you. In the meantime, to other news tonight, and there are new developments in the scandal involving movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. More women coming forward, and new video of Weinstein emerging tonight. These are the faces of some of the women who have now spoken out to accuse him of misconduct over a period of decades. And tonight here, those new images of Harvey Weinstein with police outside his daughter's home. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis now.
New video tonight from TMZ of disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein on the streets of Los Angeles with police on the scene. The LAPD tells ABC News they were called to the area this morning after a family dispute involving Weinstein and his 22-year-old daughter. No arrests were made. Meanwhile, authorities are left answering questions about why Weinstein was not prosecuted after this secretly recorded audio during a 2015 NYPD sting operation.
Why yesterday you touched my breast?
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in.
No, but I'm not used to that.
I won't do it again.
Today, the Manhattan DA defended its decision not to prosecute.
Obviously, he has some serious issues, and the tape is terrible. But I, as DA, have to be guided by the evidence and the elements of the crime.
Now Hollywood is hush hush no more. Similar stories are shared by more than 20 women who say they were sexually assaulted, harassed, or raped by Weinstein.
And he comes back out and he's fully naked. And that's when I just thought, what is happening? How is this happening, and what is he going to do to me?
Many are now asking how this culture of complicity was able to persist for so long. Actor Seth MacFarlane revealing tonight he knew about the allegations for years and meant this moment at the Oscars as more of a jab than a joke.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
MacFarlane tweeted that it came from a place of loathing and anger after his friend, actress Jessica Barth, told him that she had been sexually harassed by Weinstein in 2011. Weinstein has been fired and denies any allegations of non-consensual sex. Ben Affleck called Weinstein's actions sick, but then actress Rose McGowan tweeted and told the New York Times that she had told Affleck that Weinstein had behaved inappropriately with her years ago. And now Weinstein's wife of 10 years, fashion designer Georgina Chapman, tells People magazine she is leaving her husband.
And Lindsay Davis with us here in New York. And Lindsay, we now know that Harvey Weinstein's own brother, his business partner, is speaking out against his brother's behavior. But there are a lot of people who are going to ask, how did the family, how did the board not know about any of this behavior?
Right, and his brother Bob saying that he's a very sick man, calling him a world-class liar, but the board maintains they had no idea, David.
Lindsay Davis on this story again tonight. Lindsay, thank you. We turn next here to dramatic new details from the massacre in Las Vegas, an audio recording of a hotel maintenance worker calling for help after arriving on the 32nd floor of that hotel where a security guard had been shot through that hotel door. You can hear the gunfire during that call for help. And here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, tonight.
The audio recording
Security's up here.
Sheds new light tonight on the moments after Stephen Paddock opened fire down this hallway on a hotel security guard.
Call the police. Someone's firing a gun up here. Someone's firing a rifle on the 32nd floor down the hallway. Copy. Hey, it's on 32.
The man calling for help, a maintenance worker who found himself in that hallway too and radioed to hotel security.
Security wants to know if you know a room. It's at the end of the hallway. I can't tell you what room. He looked like he fired down the hallway when I got close to the door.
The maintenance worker, Stephen Schuck, says he wanted to make sure that help was on its way.
remain calm and, call it over the radio so we can get police on their way as soon as possible.
According to the revised police timeline, it was about 6 minutes later the shooter began to fire on the concert crowd. And tonight, a person who has reviewed the records tells ABC News hotel security did not call the police until after the rampage was already underway. Police say officers did not reach the 32nd floor until after the shooting had stopped.
And Brian Ross back with us tonight. Brian, for people at home watching this, it's been confusing even for us. The timeline has changed from day to day.
Right.
Initially, they had said the security guard got there after the massacre, might have stopped the massacre. Then there was word from authorities that he got there before the massacre even began. And now MGM, the owner of the hotel group, saying that they don't necessarily buy this new timeline either.
That's right, David. In a statement, the hotel says the most recent timeline from police may not be accurate. We know the hotel's now working with authorities to straighten it all out, and police tell us to expect a new version of the timeline on Friday, David.
On Friday. Brian Ross and your team, thanks again tonight. President Trump tonight blasting a report that he told military officials that he wanted a major increase in the U.S. nuclear arsenal. That conversation reportedly taking place during a meeting at the Pentagon back in July. But the president says it is not true, though he has suggested expanding the nuclear capability in this country in the past. And tonight, General Mattis is also weighing in. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
At an Oval Office photo op with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, we asked President Trump about a report that he had asked for a 10-fold increase in the U.S. nuclear arsenal.
Do you want to increase the nuclear arsenal? No, I never discussed increasing it. I want it in perfect shape. That was just fake news by NBC, which gives a lot of fake news lately.
The report by NBC News said that during a July 20th meeting at the Pentagon, Trump told military leaders he wanted a bigger nuclear stockpile, what it was back in the 1960s, nearly 10 times the number of warheads today. Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, who was at the meeting, today flatly denied that happened, issuing a statement saying recent reports that the president called for an increase in the U.S. nuclear arsenal are absolutely false.
NBC says it stands by its report.
The president told us he wants to modernize the weapons, not add more of them.
You want no increase whatsoever? You're happy with the current We won't
size?
need an increase, but I want modernization and I want total rehabilitation. It's got to be in tip-top shape.
That's actually a change from December when he tweeted, quote, "The United States must greatly strengthen and expand its nuclear capability until such time as the world comes to its senses regarding nukes." Today, the president didn't just dispute the NBC report, he went so far as to question their right to report it.
It's frankly disgusting the way the press is able to write whatever they want to write, and people should look into it.
And on Twitter, he seemed to make a threat. With all the fake news coming out of NBC and the networks, at what point is it appropriate to challenge their license? Bad for country.
John Karl with us live tonight from the White House. And John, aside from the headline involving the U.S. nuclear arsenal, there's also other major news out of the White House tonight. The president announcing his pick to replace John Kelly as Secretary of Homeland Security.
The White House has announced that the president will nominate Kirstjen Nielsen to be the new Secretary of Homeland Security. She is somebody who knows Kelly quite well. She served as his chief of staff over at the Department of Homeland Security and is currently the principal deputy chief of staff here at the White House. David?
John Karl, our thanks to you. Meanwhile, the president is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania tonight talking about his proposed tax plan and making some new promises about how much middle-class families would save under the plan. So let's get right to Cecilia Vega. She's traveling with the president tonight. Cecilia?
Hey, David, good evening to you. President Trump says the typical American family will save $4,000, a pay raise, he is calling this, and that's because he's claiming that this will come from cuts to the corporate tax rate. But this is a tax reform plan, I've got to say, with few details right now. Some experts that have been looking over this plan say it's actually the top 1% of income earners who will earn and win the most out of this plan, and it will add trillions to the federal deficit. But, you know, this is the administration's top priority, David. They are out here pushing hard. Now President Trump has to convince Congress, because it's not just Democrats who are skeptics, David. They're Republican skeptics, too.
All right, Cecilia Vega with us tonight as well. Cecilia, thank you. And there is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Wednesday. The dramatic police shooting, the suspects on the run, the driver allegedly trying to run down an officer, police opening fire with a hail of bullets, and why there's now a criminal investigation tonight into the officers as well. 10 students charged in the alleged hazing death of a fellow student using the code words Bible study before the incident. The young man dying with 6 times the legal alcohol limit in his system. And it's a story we reported on before, the video sparking nationwide outrage. The nurse arrested for refusing a police order to draw blood from an unconscious patient. Well, there is major news coming in tonight about that incident. 10 young men under arrest in the suspected hazing death of a college student in Louisiana. The LSU freshman died after attending a fraternity pledge event called Bible Study. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
One by one today, the frat brothers accused in the September hazing death of this LSU freshman were led away in handcuffs. Their lawyers were upset it had to be so public.
They're going to parade these kids up this walkway and into that facility into Paris prison. That's not necessary.
9 of the 10 young men from Phi Delta Theta are charged tonight with misdemeanor hazing. But 19-year-old Matthew Naukin, who witnesses say was the most aggressive that night, is also accused of negligent homicide, a felony.
All of us regret a tragic loss in the case, and wish that could be repaired very easily, but it can't.
19-year-old Max Groover died after what they called a Bible study September 13th. Pledges were asked questions about the fraternity, and police say that Naukin and 2 others forced them to drink 190 proof alcohol when they got the answers wrong. A coroner's report tonight says that Groover's blood alcohol level was .495, 6 times the legal driving limit. Police say he was passed out on a couch for at least 9 hours, that they checked on him during the night, and in the morning he woke up with a weak pulse. On Facebook, his mother wrote #StopTheHazing. My son is dead now, adding that you brothers will have to live with it every day for the rest of your lives. So far, attorneys for at least 2 of the accused fraternity brothers deny all wrongdoing tonight. David?
Steve, thank you. Coming up, the big change involving the Boy Scouts. Also the manhunt tonight. The suspect's on the run after allegedly trying to drive over an officer. Officers respond with gunfire, and there are questions about the officers, too. And the nurse who refused orders from the police, the major headline now in that case tonight. Next tonight to Seattle, police video showing officers with guns drawn approaching a car with several suspects, the vehicle lunging at them. Police unleashing a barrage of gunfire. The suspects got away, 2 officers now on paid leave. The department investigating whether that gunfire then put the neighborhood at risk. The nurse who said no and now the police officer fired in Salt Lake City. Officials say Detective Jeff Payne was fired and another officer demoted for arresting a hospital nurse who refused to draw blood from an unconscious patient. Nurse Alex Wubbles was handcuffed. She was not charged. The Boy Scouts making an historic change tonight. The Scouts Board of Directors voting unanimously to allow girls to join the Cub Scouts beginning next year, while also creating a program allowing girls to become Eagle Scouts. The Girl Scouts have previously criticized that plan. When we come back tonight, the mother comforted by the words of her 2-year-old boy.
World News Tonight with David Muir, brought to you by Pacific Life, protecting generations of families for 150 years. That's the power of Pacific.
Finally tonight here, America Strong. We are just back from California, but we won't soon forget what we saw and who we met. We took you to the Coffey Park neighborhood, completely wiped out, and that eerie sight, the fireplaces, all still intact. One of the most stunning things in this neighborhood is everywhere you look, the only thing you see left standing are the chimneys. In every direction, just dozens of chimneys, nothing left of the homes. But amidst the rubble, the flag draped on the back of a burned-out pickup truck. Another in the mailbox, still standing. And there was Mary Coffey in Kenwood, California, overcome with joy, finding her wedding ring, her family looking on. So much bravery here, the sheriff who told me about his deputies, one of them who saved neighbors, all of them on a dirt patch as the fire moved in all around them.
We had a deputy on top of Mark West who had 40 people with him and they couldn't get out, and the fire just burned around him and they just sheltered in place as it went around.
They were surrounded by the fire. Yep. And then there was Caitlin Bach, who had the difficult task of preparing her 2-year-old as the fire now gets closer to their home.
I know he's 2, but he just looked at me and said, "Yes, Mommy, it's okay. It's going to be okay."
A mother comforted by the word.